What's up, YouTube? This is me, Asian Dave, aka Fanatical for Jesus, aka Dawei, aka David Shu. Alright, so I just got done watching this clip for the amazing, or not the amazing atheist, the atheist experience. And in the show, this woman called in, and she actually made a pretty good argument. But Mac Dillahunty, his dishonest ass, decided he was going to just ignore her argument and just call it a logical fallacy. And I don't know, the way she handled it was not the right way to handle it. Like, she should have answered the question and then went on to explain herself further, but she didn't do that. So like I said, she was, I don't know, I feel like she got emotional and defensive right when he said logical fallacy, and instead of calming down and actually answering his questions, she got mad and started cutting him off and everything. However, Mom, where are you going?
Take a bait.
Okay. Anyways, so she handled it the wrong way. Like, um, but the argument she made that was actually logical was, okay, so she was talking about the early apostles, and she was talking about um, how they were so brave for seeing Jesus actually rise from the dead, and she was trying to ask him about how what would cause them to be so brave and to put that they would be willing to put up with being persecuted, being thrown in prison, being flogged, being hung upside down on a cross, being beheaded, and so on and so forth. If what they believed, if they knew what they believed was a lie, like, then why would they put up with? Why would they go through all that when they could have easily not gone through that if they would have just recanted and said, you know what, no, we didn't see Jesus rise from the dead, then nothing would happen to them. And he decided to throw out a red herring by saying, well, Muslims fly planes into buildings for a belief that they held to be true, and Buddhists set themselves on fire for a belief they held to be true. Okay, first off, those people, the reason why that's a red herring is because, number one, that has nothing to do with the topic at hand. Has nothing to do with the early apostles. Number two, those were self-inflicted things that they did to themselves, not stuff that happened to them. And number three, there is not a case in history where a whole group of people were willing to go through persecution, stuff forced onto them for something they knew to be a lie. There's not a case in history where that has happened. And then also the early apostles, they were cowards. Like, they literally went into hiding after Jesus was crucified. They went into hiding. There would be absolutely no reason for them to come out of hiding to and start lying to people saying we saw Jesus rise from the dead. There would be absolutely no reason. They were cowards. They were afraid. And actually the brave ones were the women who went to go and check out the tomb. Now, first off, if you're in that time period and you're making up a story, the last thing you would say would be that women went and checked out the tomb and that women were the first ones to see Jesus rise from the dead, because back then women had no credibility. So to say that the women were the first ones to see Jesus rise from the dead, no one would take your story seriously at all. They'd be like, whatever, like, women aren't credible. So that's the first thing that they would not do if they were making up a story. Now, for the disciples to come out and boldly proclaim Jesus to have risen from the dead, they must have saw something to make them so brave. And what they saw was the fact that Jesus did indeed rise from the dead. But Matt Dillahunty didn't want to go there because he's a dishonest prick, and that all he could do when an argument is going somewhere that he doesn't like, he just puts the person on hold or he hangs up before the person has a chance to explain themselves. That's what he does, and it's a dishonest tactic. All he does is hang up the phone, or he puts the person on hold as soon as the argument goes in a direction he doesn't feel comfortable with. So, and it's a dishonest tactic. So the disciples, the early disciples, that's what they were. They were cowards. So there would be absolutely no reason for them to come out of hiding and start saying, "Hey, Jesus rose from the dead," unless they did see Jesus rise from the dead and decided, "Hey, we need to tell people about this," and that made them brave. That made them bold because they could not help. Like Peter, I think it was Peter. Yeah, Peter told the Sanhedrin or the Pharisees in the book of Acts that they cannot help but to talk about the things that they have seen. We have eyewitness testimony of Jesus rising from the dead. So to discount all the apostles and say, "Oh, well, they didn't really see what they said, they were just going to die for a lie," that right there is a logical fallacy. And then atheists like to do this all the time. The only evidence that they'll accept, well, all the evidence pointing towards the resurrection, they will not accept it because it points to the resurrection. They want to guide the discussion into a direction that they don't want, that in a direction that they want the conversation to go to, not the direction that it would naturally go to. The atheists are the most dishonest people on this earth because they like to ignore evidence that goes in the direction that goes in a direction that they're not comfortable with. They want to ignore that. They don't want to acknowledge it, so they try and guide the discussion in a different direction. And that right there is by definition cognitive dissonance. They want to ignore the evidence that points to something that they don't like. So, and that is why the wrath of God abides on them. Anyways, so like Matt Dillahunty was being dishonest, and he titled the video "A Dishonest Christian." I forgot what he titled. I'll post the video in the link below. Pretty much, he was calling this lady a dishonest person, when in all actuality, he was the one being dishonest. So it's like calling the kettle. It's like the pot calling the kettle black. Like it's ridiculous. Like, I don't understand why atheists are incapable of holding an honest conversation with people. I don't get it. The only thing that I could think of is that, like what Paul said, the natural man is incapable of understanding the spiritual things because they are spiritually discerned. They're incapable of understanding because they're ignorant. And like the reason why they're ignorant is because they love darkness rather than light. That's exactly what it is. They love darkness rather than light. So they want to remain in the darkness because they love it. Anyway, so that's all I have to say for now. Let me know what you guys think in the comment section below. And as always, don't forget to rate and subscribe. Alright, have a good day. God bless you. And stay awesome, Gotham. Deuces.